Here's how much time passes in each Star Wars trilogy. Set over the course of 9 films, the Skywalker saga follows multiple generations of the Skywalker family, depicting different widespread galactic conflicts. Chronologically in the movies, audiences follow the fall of the Jedi Order, the Empire's reign, and Emperor Palpatine's ultimate defeat, story threads that coalesce together to make an epic space opera that deals with themes such as hope and destiny. The Rise of Skywalker was the conclusion to the Skywalker saga, but since then the Star Wars timeline has been fleshed out through Disney Plus shows like Andor, The Mandalorian, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and The Book of Boba Fett. Since Star Wars Skywalker saga is so wide-spanning, it obviously unfolds over a number of years in galactic history. Within the context of the Star Wars galaxy, audiences have seen just a snippet of what's happened in this universe, but the Skywalker saga was still a pretty long story. It spans multiple decades and generations of Skywalkers, from Anakin's mother Shmi in The Phantom Menace through to Rey Skywalker at the end of The Rise of Skywalker. Well over half a century passes between Star Wars from Episode 1 to Episode 11. Since the movies themselves do not explicitly state how many years have passed between movies, some may be wondering just how much time it took for the entire Skywalker saga to happen in universe. Using the unofficial Star Wars calendar system of BBY and AB, before and after the Battle of Yavin, it's easy to figure out. Here is how much time passes during each Star Wars trilogy, how many decades separate them, and when the Disney Plus Star Wars shows take place. How much time passes in the Star Wars prequel trilogy? The prequel trilogy has the biggest time jump in the entire saga. The Phantom Menace picks events up in 32 BBY, at a time when the Jedi Order was at the height of its powers and the Galactic Republic was enjoying a period of relative peace. A whole decade passes before Attack of the Clones starts, putting that movie in 22 BBY. Finally, Revenge of the Sith is set in 19 BBY, meaning 3 years passed between the final 2 prequels. That stretch was the primary focus of the Clone Wars, filling in the gaps of what happened between movies and arguably fixing Anakin's prequel trilogy arc. The entire prequel trilogy takes place over 13 years. Anakin Skywalker is a 9-year-old child when it begins and 22 years old when it ends. How much time passes between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope? There are 19 years between Star Wars Episode 3 and Episode 4. During this time, Palpatine secures control of the galaxy, Vader's Inquisition hunts down the last remnants of the Jedi, and the rebellion against the Empire starts. Luke and Leia grow up in separation, and Obi-Wan Kenobi ensures both of them remain hidden from his former apprentice in the Emperor. Solo? A Star Wars story is the next movie in the timeline, and Solo is set between 13 BBY and 10 BBY. The Obi-Wan Kenobi Disney Plus show timeline takes place during this period, 9 BBY, as does Andor, 5 BBY 0 BBY. The Star Wars Rebels, also 5 BBY 0 BBY, and The Bad Batch, 19 BBY onward, animated series also occur during this gap. Rogue One. A Star Wars story takes place in 0 BBY, immediately before the events of A New Hope. How much time passes in the Star Wars original trilogy? The original trilogy's story is more truncated by comparison, but still had its fair share of time jumps. A New Hope, obviously, is set in 0 BBY, the same year as Rogue One. 3 years pass between the events of A New Hope and The Empire Strikes Back, replicating the real-world wait audiences had to endure for the sequel. Finally, Return of the Jedi is set in 4 AB, meaning it takes place a year after The Empire Strikes Back. In total, only 4 years pass during the original trilogy. Luke Skywalker is 19 years old in A New Hope and completes his Jedi training at 23 years old. Anakin Skywalker was 45 years old when he died as Darth Vader, 36 years after he first became a Jedi in The Phantom Menace. How much time passes between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens? There are 30 years between the Star Wars original trilogy and sequel trilogy. During the 3 decades before The Force Awakens, Luke Skywalker builds and loses his new Jedi Order, Leia and Han get married, and Palpatine is setting his new plan with the First Order into motion. Kylo Ren, 5 AB, Finn, 11 AB, and Rey, 15 AB, are all born during this time, although informal Han Solo replacement Poe Dameron was born in 2 AB between The Empire Strikes Back and A New Hope. So far, no Star Wars movies outside the Skywalker saga have taken place in this period, but Lucasfilm and Disney set their flagship Disney Plus show, The Mandalorian, in 9 by 5 years after Raj, and the same year as the Book of Boba Fett. Future Disney Plus shows like Ahsoka are expected to take place here. How much time passes in the Star Wars sequel trilogy? This is the shortest Star Wars trilogy in terms of in-universe time by far. The Force Awakens is set in 34 AB, which is the same year The Last Jedi takes place. This is the only instance in the Skywalker saga where there is no time jump between installments. That changed slightly for the final Star Wars chapter, The Rise of Skywalker, but not by much. Star Wars Episode 9 is set in 35 AB, meaning only a year took place in the entire sequel trilogy. Rey is 19 years old when she begins her journey and 20 when it ends. Unlike his prolonged rise to power with the Empire, Palpatine's second resurgence is short-lived, but much more devastating for the galaxy, thanks to the mass destruction of several Republic planets during the Force Awakens Starkiller incident, also known in universe as the Hosnian Cataclysm. How many years pass in the entire Skywalker saga? The Skywalker saga covers 67 years from start to finish. For a real-life comparison, a story of the same time span could start alongside WW1, 1914, and end during the height of the Cold War in 1981. The space opera George Lucas started with Star Wars. A New Hope in 1977 is an epic in every sense. While it's the most recent entry, it's likely that The Rise of Skywalker isn't Star Wars ending, despite there not yet being confirmation of a Star Wars Episode 10. However, if Disney and Lucasfilm decide to expand the Star Wars galaxy with another numbered title, there's no telling when it could be set. Disney has built out the pre-prequel history of Star Wars extensively, and the decanonizing of Legends material means the future is a blank canvas.